For more on today's earnings from Apple, let's go right to Yahoo Finance tech editor Dan Howley. Dan, what are some of the key takeaways from you?
I think, I'm looking at the China sales over here, and obviously they were lower than a year ago. I think that's, going to be one of the standout pieces of this earnings report. Obviously they issued their guidance and had to revise it because of headwinds in China. I think, looking here, obviously the U.S. was, or the North America was up. Europe was also down, which is surprising, and so was Japan. It really doesn't look like the best quarter all around. I mean, services were up, and that's where, like you said, they want to kind of move the narrative for the company. But they weren't up as much as we had hoped, at least as much as I had hoped. So, I mean, overall, this looks like kind of a disappointing earnings report. But I guess, average selling price was up for them. So that's a good point to make with the iPhone XS and iPhone XS Max out there.
Howley, do you have that ASP number? That average selling price? You know it's up. Sorry, we had been looking for it. I mean, the Apple, you're talking about China booking just about $13 billion in revenue from China last quarter. That was down 27% from a year ago. But is this really all just a China story? Are we in the U.S. also kind of getting tired of Apple? Brian Sozzi saying, people on the street are saying this could be the next BlackBerry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a BlackBerry by any stretch of the imagination. The reason why BlackBerry fell apart was because of Apple. Apple was so good when they came out with their smartphones, and they just made BlackBerry look like yesterday's technology right away. I think, we are kind of starting to see, or have been seeing, the plateau of the smartphone market. There's really no reason to upgrade as much as we used to. It used to be, every year, every 2 years, there were these big innovations for smartphones, and now it's basically just, more or less the same thing year after year. Sure, maybe we get one or two improvements to the cameras. The screens look a little bit better here and there, but we haven't seen anything significant enough to really get people out there. And that's why we're starting to see smartphone makers in general try to come up with these kind of weird niche ideas like foldable screens, multiple cameras. We're seeing some smartphone makers with 3 cameras on the backs of their phones. And Apple isn't really the type of company that's willing to dive into there. They like to take the wait and see approach, see if the technology actually pans out, and then jump on it, and then act like they invented it. So that's kind of, their MO. I don't see them going that way with foldable screens or any kind of insane kind of camera setup. I think it's really just the fact that we're kind of over what we've seen from the smartphone market, and that's why they're trying to push their services. If they can make them as good as possible, if we can see a streaming video service from Apple coming down the pipe that's as good as Netflix or can compete with Netflix, then they have a real shot.
All right, Dan Howley live in our newsroom. Thanks so much for the update.